What is up, Packer fans? Back again. Here we are. The end of the season has come. The Chiefs lost, Eagles won, so that kind of made me feel like, okay, the Packers only lost against the Eagles twice. First game of the season in Brazil, and then again in the playoffs, obviously in the wild card. They went on to beat the Commanders. I think they beat the Rams. I forgot who they had to play in the middle there. But then they went on to beat the Chiefs, obviously, pretty handedly. The defense, pretty amazing. Makes me, as a Packer fan, wish we would have got Cooper DeJean instead of Jordan Morgan. We'll see what the rookie who is injured with the shoulder throughout the season can do. Packers definitely going to be looking for more offensive line, going to be looking for defensive line, going to be seeing what they can do in free agency. A lot of things to talk about. Packers season, though, they ended 11-6. Obviously, Jordan Love getting hurt week 1, not playing in week 2 or week 3, coming back a little early. He even admitted coming back and then injuring his groin. He said it was directly related to kind of overcompensating for the knee. And then the season just did not go the way we thought it would. We did get kind of hot mid-season, and then in big games at the end of the season against some teams that we needed to beat, the Lions and the Vikings, we lost. And then obviously in the playoffs, we lost again. But, I mean, we lost to, what, 2 14-win teams? I think one of them won 15, the Lions, or one of the teams. The Lions won 15, I think. And then against the Eagles, who ended up winning the Super Bowl, also winning, I think they won 14. But either way, Packers, obviously they beat the Chiefs last year, so they're right there. They're right there. They're a good team. They're definitely a solid team. Need to do some things in this offseason to get over the hump. Jordan Love being healthy, playing more consistent, eliminating the turnovers, the interceptions early on in the season. I think he had like 11 through the first 10 games or something like that, and he didn't even play some of them. So it's kind of bad at first, and then towards the end of the season, he kind of cleaned some of that up. But for me, the offensive line played well against that Eagles defense. You saw what that defense did to the Chiefs. So what the offensive line played really well. I mean, having Zach Tom at right tackle, he played well. Rasheed Walker at left tackle. Who knew he was going to be the left tackle for the future after Bakhtiari? And then, obviously, Alkin Jenkins. Josh Myers says he wants to come back. We'll see what the Packers do at center. We'll see. And then Sean Ryan played really well at right guard. We'll see what Jordan Morgan does. He wanted to be a tackle. They pushed him to guard. He got hurt. He couldn't really stay on the field. And Sean Ryan played well enough to be out there. So this offensive line, obviously I think they should draft somebody, keep developing guys, see what they can come up with, obviously with Jordan Morgan, like I said, and then see how, Walker and the rest of these guys kind of develop. That center is really going to be a big deal. Obviously, we took Josh Myers, I think the pick right before Creed Humphreys went to the Chiefs, and he's been all-pro the last 2 seasons. So I always think about that when I think about offensive line. Like, we could have had him. Obviously, we lost Corey Linsley, who was a Pro Bowler, and then Josh Myers, who's played well, but just a guy that I think we need somebody who's a little bit better in the center there. A guy that, it really is a huge position on the offense and the offensive line and the offense as a whole. So for the Packers, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But for me, the biggest issue this season, obviously Watson got hurt at the end of the year, his ACL. He'll be coming back maybe October, November next year. It is a contract year for him and Doubs, so we'll see what happens. But the progression of the receivers just did not show up the way I thought it would. Doubs didn't really take that next step. Then he started getting hurt. He had that little, he was whining early on in the season. He ended up getting suspended the game, didn't go out to LA to play the Rams. So Packers won that game still. But still, like, the receivers just did not take off like I thought they would. I thought Dontavian Wicks would take the next step. I thought he'd be making so many plays that I thought the Packers would be in a situation where the guys all played so well that they had to pay them all and they couldn't keep them all. Now they're in a situation where they pretty much could run it back with these guys and see what they can come up with. Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, even, like, he started off leading the league, I think, after 4 weeks. Maybe it was after 5 weeks in receiving yards. He was, like, leading the league for real. And then didn't even end up with 1,000 yards. So he had over 500 in the first 5 weeks, and then had less than 1,000 for the whole season. Which, I mean, that's just such a taper off at the end there. And so for Reed, it's going to be about being more consistent. I don't know if the offense just stopped flowing through him. I know we started running Jacobs a lot at the end of the season, but for him to kind of have that kind of downturn towards the end of the season is a question mark. Then, like I said, Wicks, I thought he would really step it up. He just has the drops and just wasn't very consistent. Watson is great when he's out there. He just can't stay out there. I really like Watson, his big play potential, and he's 6'4", can run. Now we'll see if he still has that speed coming back from the ACL. That is a big injury. It's not the curse it used to be, but it's still a big injury, especially for a speed guy. And then again, Dobbs, we'll see what happens with him. He was complaining a little bit during the season, kind of came back, played well, got hurt. So we'll see what they do with him. He's the first guy ever to get a concussion with the Guardian cap on. So we'll see what happens with them. Obviously, those 4 guys, kind of the starters, and then you have Malik Heath, who I do like, Bo Melton, who I do like, but those guys just aren't going to be the ones that we're going to be leaning on in the future. Packers are talking about getting Davante Adams back, which could be pretty cool. And then T. Higgins from the Bengals, he's an option. Garrett Wilson from the Jets, also somebody they've been talking about. I like Wilson just because he's young and really very talented. What he thought was going to happen with Rodgers didn't happen. I think that if he came to the Packers, it could happen with him. T. Higgins is a guy that I like a lot also, so I'd be happy with any of them. Adams coming back. I know the Packers have been saying, yeah, we're down for that. Obviously, Adams is great, but I think he's on the the latter side of his career, and I'd like to just see some of these younger guys come in and keep this team young. But for Green Bay, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgraves moving forward, having those 2 tight ends is going to be huge. Tucker Kraft really turned into a guy that nobody really thought he would. I don't think a lot of people knew him coming out of college. I think he went to South Dakota State, so not a lot of people knew him and the Jackrabbits, so not a lot of people knew him coming out. And so for him to kind of just elevate his play and be a consistent threat, score touchdowns, all those things, be a guy who's looking for the end zone every time he catches the ball, that's huge for the Packers, and I just like what he brings to this team. And then Musgrave, obviously he was out, but this guy's 6'6", and he can run. I think that he, in his 3rd year next year, I think he can really take that next step as well. So we'll see what this offense can do. We'll see what this offense kind of does in the offseason, in the draft. Obviously, rookies don't always, amount to a lot their first year, so we'll see what they do in free agency and see what these veterans can do in their next season. Obviously, in the running game, Marshawn Lloyd, we didn't get to see him much, but I really like what he brings. I do like him. Manuel Wilson also played well this year in kind of that second running back role with A.J. Dillon out for the season. We'll see what they do with A.J. Dillon. He's a guy that hurt his neck, and he's a Packer favorite, Green Bay favorite, all those things, a Door County favorite, but I don't know if he'll be back. We'll see what they do with him, and even if he wants to play, I know he has probably options outside of football, so we'll see what they do with him. And obviously, Josh Jacobs, what a year. This guy was great. Pro Bowl, over, I think, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, something like that. So for Josh Jacobs, what a first year in Green Bay. I think he's going to try to elevate that next year as well. We just got to keep leaning on him. I think LaFleur is going to keep dialing up these fancy running plays, misdirection, kind of get Jacobs the ball in space and see what he can do. It's been great to watch because I really was a big Aaron Jones fan, and then to watch him go kind of sucked, and now I really was excited when they got Jacobs, so we'll see what they can do with this offense. Again, comes down to free agency. Can we protect Jordan Love with this offensive line? We saw the Eagles and what they did and their kind of formula. Their whole offensive line averages 6'6", 338 pounds. Their defense was amazing. Their front 4 got after it, so protecting the quarterback and getting after the quarterback is the name of the game. We all know that. And the Packers, to me, their offensive line played well enough protecting Jordan Love. There was just some mistakes with, some of the receivers dropping balls and things like that, penalties at bad times, and Jordan Love making some errant throws at times also. But the defense, Packers defense just cannot get pressure in big games against the Lions and the Vikings, who had big offensive lines. We just had no pressure with the front 4. You start blitzing guys, then guys are open, and so that was kind of our formula for why we lost, was not having enough pressure. So for me, this Packers defense played super awesome. Jeff Hafley was definitely a breath of fresh air coming after Joe Barry's years of just disappointment, having Preston Smith covering Justin Jefferson. We didn't see that this year, so that's a good thing. That's a plus. That is a positive. Progress, not perfection. So for Hafley, another year with this defense, another year with X, another year with Edrin Cooper, another year with Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. I think all these guys are going to progress a little bit further in this defense. I want to see what they do in the draft, and I want to see what they do in free agency. Obviously, getting Maxx Crosby, Khalil Mack, something like that would be amazing. Myles Garrett is even out there. trying to get somebody like him. He did say he doesn't mind the snow. He just wants to win a championship. So he could be like a Reggie White type free agent signing. So bringing a guy like Garrett or Crosby, I like both of them. Maxx kind of on his last legs. So I do like what Crosby and Myles Garrett would bring to this defense. But obviously Lukas Van Ness just hasn't stepped up the way we thought he would. And then Rashawn Gary can't do it all on his own. His numbers were down. He did make a Pro Bowl, but his numbers were down. Kenny Clark just, he does what he does in the middle, and this defense kind of has him be the run stuffer, kind of hold his spot and let the linebackers kind of get to where they got to go to the ball carrier. So Clark's numbers were down also, and then, Davante White got hurt, but his numbers were good early in the season. I'd like to see what he can do with a full season of health. I do like what he brings. And then, Brenton Cox had a decent season. We got rid of Preston Smith, like I was saying. He was covering guys in Joe Barry's system, but now he is at Pittsburgh. I don't think they're very happy with him in Pittsburgh. He might be out the door there as well. But for the Packers, it's going to come down to finding another pass rusher or two. Again, Van Ness just not panning out the way we thought he would, not getting the numbers. And, I like his motor. I like his work ethic and everything. He's just not getting the stats. So for the Packers, bringing in a guy or drafting a guy high that can really get after the quarterback, that could be definitely a point of emphasis going into this offseason. And then again, at linebacker, I love Quay Walker. That guy really played well. Had some issues young, when he was younger, just kind of boneheaded mistakes, but he is really a guy that is fast and instinctive and really a good tackler. And then bringing Edgerrin Cooper in a little bit more. He didn't play that many snaps. So, like, the percentage of the snaps he played wasn't that much. He just came out, you just saw him every time he was on the field, so it felt like he was out there a lot. But he really didn't play that many snaps this year, so getting him a full slate of plays on the defense next year, this guy could really become a huge player on this defense for the Packers. I like what this guy brings, the attitude, the speed, the toughness, and just the instinctiveness. So Cooper is a guy that I look forward to watching moving forward. And then obviously like a guy like McDuffie played well. Eric Wilson played well in the middle when they had to. So those guys, we'll see what they do. Maybe bring in another young guy or like what the Eagles did with Zach Bond, the guy out of Wisconsin. He wasn't even that great at Wisconsin. I mean, he played well and he was pretty good. He was one of the stars on the defense. But I mean, the Wisconsin team didn't do anything. And then coming into the NFL, he was kind of just a guy. And then Eagles took a flyer on him, moved him to the middle, and now he's an All-Pro. So doing things like that, obviously that's a big difference from some of these guys who just get drafted to the position. But for the Packers defense, it's going to come down to trying to find a guy who can get after the quarterback. Some guys, maybe moving, edge to the edge, or something. I don't know what they're going to do, but it'll be interesting to see what they do in the free agency with the defensive ends or the, like Mack or Garrett or Crosby, like I was talking about. So we'll see. But those linebackers, they're young, they're fast. I like what they bring to this team. They're big guys. And so on the back end, these are where the question marks lie. Jair Alexander's probably out the door. I think he's played his last snap in Green Bay. He's pretty much going to be done, I think, for the Packers. So I do think he's under contract, so he does need to be traded. So that does mean we'll get something in return. We'll see what that is. Maybe that's a trade for a receiver or a defensive end. We'll see what that comes down to. But that leaves us with Eric Stokes, who's been kind of underwhelming, injured a lot. Keyshawn Nixon, who's played well. He's played really well. I like what he brings, but he does not want to be kick returner if he's going to be the cornerback one for the Packers. And then obviously Carrington Valentine's played well, but he also, he got stiff-armed all the way down the field by Dallas Goedert in the wild card game. So there's stuff to clean up for sure for him. And then, some of these other younger guys that play in the secondary, we'll see what they can do. Javon Bullard I like a lot. Evan Williams I like a lot. And then obviously X on the back end, Pro Bowl and All-Pro for McKinney. So what a year for him in his first season as a Packers safety. Beat out Kirby Joseph, who nobody really likes. He just has a lot of interceptions. So for X, what a season. I look for him to develop more in Hafley's defense and just keep progressing. I really like what he brought to this defense, just kind of cleaning up things on the back end. Not a lot of huge plays over the head of the Packers, but we just have to get more pressure, clean up some of the stuff underneath, get Cooper out there more. And I think this defense can take a next step. I think this offense can take another step. I think Jordan Love is that guy for sure. And this team as a whole just is really good. They just need to clean up some things, get a few more pieces. And that's why you have K9, you have Keyshawn Nixon, and you have Josh Jacobs out there recruiting. Some of the Packers receivers, I think, maybe got a little upset about them saying they want a wide receiver one in there. But none of these guys stepped up. So you can't be mad if you're not going to step up and be that guy. you know, you can understand why they might want to bring somebody in to add to the talent we have and some of the playmaking ability that is already there. So we'll see what the Packers do. We'll see what Goody does. We'll see what Matt LaFleur and those guys figure out this offseason. Go Pack, go! Thanks again for watching. Don't forget. We're gonna hit the special teams quick. Brandon McManus, I like him a lot. He's gonna be the kicker of the future. See what he can do moving forward. And our punter Waylon, he is great. So I like what he does for the Packers. We'll keep him as well. So now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Peace out. See you guys next time. We'll be following up with this Packers offseason, trying to check in, seeing what they're doing for the next few months before the draft, and then before the season, summer training camp, and then preseason, and then into the season for September. So go Pack, go! 2025 Super Bowl, here we come. Super Bowl 60. That is the one the Packers are going to get. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. So, all right, thanks again for watching. Peace out, guys. Go Pack, go!